Hello and welcome to another episode of Unboxing with Paul. And today I'm excited to bring you the TCL Stylus 5G versus the Motorola 5G Stylus 2nd generation 5G. We're going to put them both head to head and we're going to figure out which one is the better buy based in price, camera, and performance. Let's take a look at them. Both of these devices have been out for a few months now, and what sets one apart from the other is that the Moto G Stylus is still a lot more expensive, coming in at about $499.99 for full retail versus the TCL 5G, which comes in at $258. So roughly half the price. Let's see what exactly do we get for half the price, and we're going to figure out if it's worth it to spend the money for the higher end Moto G Stylus versus the TCL Stylus 5G. And just real quick right off the bat, they're both very similarly laid out phones, with your power and your volume button both being on the same side, so they both equally drive me up the wall, because again, volume sliders and power buttons are both at the same side, and both of those power buttons are also going to double as fingerprint scanners on both of these devices. Both of them feature dual pinhole microphones at the top, and at the very bottom they both feature the same array of ports with the Type-C USB, as well as an 1/8 inch auxiliary jack for your headphones or a line out, some more speaker grills at the bottom, an additional pinhole microphone at the bottom, as well as both of them having a built-in stylus nicely integrated. Both of these phones feature 128 gigabytes of storage. However, the Motorola will have 6 gigabytes of RAM, meanwhile the TCL will have 4 gigabytes of RAM, just a little bit less on the multitasking side. The Motorola will be able to do a little bit more than our TCL Stylus. Now, the Motorola also features a slightly larger 5,000 milliamp hour battery, meanwhile the TCL gets a smaller 4,000 milliamp hour battery. On the right side, both devices do feature Wi-Fi AC as well as NFC. However, the Motorola has Bluetooth 5.1, meanwhile the TCL has Bluetooth 5.2, so do with that information what you will. And once we're inside the phones, you can see there they are very similarly laid out phones, nothing that you haven't seen before. The TCL actually seems a little bit cleaner, because it does have the Google and the tools all nicely bunched into one folder, versus the Motorola, which just has them all out laying about. Now, of course, the Motorola is going to have a nicer higher end Snapdragon 695 5G, and of course the Motorola is going to have the nicer higher end Snapdragon 695 5G processor. Meanwhile, the TCL is going to have a slightly cheaper and lower end MT6833 processor, and we're going to run Geekbench very soon so you guys can see just how they compare head to head, because even though their clock speed might be very similar, in practice and in the real world those numbers can be vastly different, and those numbers can perform very differently based on how we're using them. So now the big thing that you're all wondering, or the big thing that I am wondering, is actually how do the stylus on both of these compare actually. So just real quick, so that you may take a look at them, this is what they look like. The flatter, broader, and wider stylus is the one that belongs to the TCL, and it's just they both feel quite substantial. They both feel quite heavy. If anything, the Motorola ones just feel a little bit nicer. However, they are both, again, very similar stylus, very similar in weight. And here is the TCL one, just so that you can all take just a little bit of a better look to it. And then here is the Motorola one, just so that you can all take just a slightly better look to it. I do like the fact that the Motorola one feels just a little bit nicer. I don't know why the one on The TCL feels like plasticky, even though both of the tips are very similar. Even though both tips are very similar, they are that wire mesh. The one on the TCL feels a lot more stiff or almost plasticky feeling. On the right side, these are just capacitive touch stylus. These are not anything that needs to be paired or charged or synced to the phone. So let's just go ahead and try to use it. And on the right side, of course, you can use one stylus for either one of the devices, okay? As I was trying to use the stylus, the one for the Motorola does feel a lot smoother and does feel a lot nicer. However, as I was really getting into it, I don't know if you guys can hear this. That is the sound of this stylus as I was, like laying into it. So I don't know if this is gonna last. I don't like the sound of that. It feels and sounds like it's going to break very soon. So now let's go ahead and try to use the TCL stylus and go ham on it. Not ham, but let's try to use it a little bit. These are not durable styluses, the things that come with them, because they bend and they flex, and once you start really going into them, they make funky noises, and I don't know, that's just not very confidence inspiring. And these devices are not cheap. You would think that at these prices, at these price ranges, that they would do a better job of doing better quality control or using better materials to build their products overall. I'm just very disappointed, honestly, in both of these styluses. I did not expect them to be this weak. I always knew that the stylus is a weak point in these phones. However, I did not expect it to disappoint me that bad. And of course, we are not going to download and run Geekbench so that we can see what kind of performance we get out of both of these devices. Of course, I expect the Motorola to come on top, but let's find out just how much more on top does it come out, because it's almost twice the price, and for twice the price you would expect for it to come out on top twice as fast or for twice the performance. But let's go ahead and find out if that's the case. Meanwhile, we're waiting for Geekbench to finish downloading. Let's go ahead and fire up the cameras and then see what kind of selfies we take with this. Cheese! So then this is a selfie for the TCL Stylus 5G, and then this is a selfie for the Moto G Stylus 5G second generation. And then let's go ahead and see what our video looks like. So then we're going to do both side by side so that you all can see it. This is what video looks and sounds like on the front facing camera of the TCL Stylus 5G and also the Moto G Stylus 5G. You guys be the judge of how good or how bad these camera qualities are just as soon as we upload them into the MacBook. And then respectively, let's also go ahead and flip our cameras around. And then this is what video looks and sounds like on the main camera of the TCL Stylus 5G and also the main camera of the Moto G Stylus 5G second generation. You guys be the judge of how good or how bad these camera qualities are as soon as we upload them into the MacBook. The last thing we have left to do is to run Geekbench and see what kind of results we get. And I will be right back with you guys as soon as this is over. Okay, and we are back, and I just wanted to catch it as soon as it was done so that you all can see just how much longer the other phone is going to take. And we still have the TCL 5G Stylus at around 93%. That's what it was at when I came to check up on it, and it's still taking a little bit to finish up. It's lagging behind the Moto G Stylus 5G, but again, that was to be expected as this is a slightly lower end processor. But either way, let's go ahead and dive into it, and it looks like they're both done. The Moto G Stylus got a 666 for the single core and an 1895 for the multi-core versus a 526 for the single core and a 1693 for the multi-core. When we go over here and we look at our comparisons, again, we can see that we have around 666 and 526 respectively, but a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra has a 924. We're about 2/3 of the way there for about half and a quarter of the price respectively. I'll definitely take that. Something similar happens again when we go to the multi-core. We get an 1895 and a 1693 respectively, but when we look at the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, it has a 3085. We're about half or 2/3 of the way there in terms of performance for only a quarter or half of the price. I'll definitely take that. Meanwhile, I do love Motorola. Don't get me wrong, I like them. It is a nicer product. It does feel nicer in the hand, and usually more attention and more detail is put into Motorola phones. However, when you're charging almost $500 for a Motorola and I can get it similarly spec'd for about half of the price, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the TCL. Almost all the specs are there. The only thing that we really don't have that the Motorola has is obviously a higher density screen, a better camera, of course, a higher end processor, and 4 gigabytes of RAM as opposed to 6. But am I really gonna notice that on my day-to-day? Not really. And I always tell consumers, I always tell friends and family, if you're looking for a great camera, if you're looking for that next level camera, if you're looking for a really, really crisp, really high-end camera, buy yourself a camera. Purchase a dedicated shooter. Purchase a dedicated lens for that. Because at the end of the day, I do realize some phones do take better pictures than others. But if the camera is a deciding factor on your phone choice, then I think you're looking at the wrong things. Let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this? Which one out of the two would you pick and why? And as always, thanks for watching.